4 points from 5 games. Tim, you got a theory as to why they're having a wobble?
I just think things are not going for them at the moment. I think that 2 wonder goals from Leicester there. Yeah, Vardy and Mahrez, 2 fantastic strikes. Mahrez just on injury time going into the dressing room for the first half was a crucial time to go 2-0 up. But Tottenham still had enough chances to win that game and never took them. I don't think they're playing particularly badly. I just think at the moment they're not getting a rub of the green. It's not going for them. I'm not making excuses. I think when you drop points, I know we talked how well Burnley are doing, but at home to Burnley, Swansea and West Brom, you should be picking maximum points up from them 3 games at home. I don't think Wembley is an excuse. I think we have to realise that now. I think he's a great manager. He's got a great set of players. I think he's had the best set of players he's had since he's been at the football club. He's had 3.5 years to build this squad now. Forget about where they might be going next year, these players, and can they afford to keep them? At the moment, they're his players, and they can get into most of the top 4 teams. A lot of these players would play for most of the top 4 teams. So he's got a squad of players there, and I believe he'll turn it around and they'll get where they should be, is in the top 4.
I know another one of your theories, and I'd like Danny's view on this, is other teams are letting them have the ball more.
Yeah. It's that in my opinion, something I've been looking at, funnily enough, over the last few days. Teams are showing the ultimate respect now. So I think they went to Leicester last season, beat them 6-1, got beat 2-1 by them this week with more possession. They're getting beat, and that's what's happening. So you look at the clubs that are going to Wembley, getting the results against them, your Swanseas, your Burnleys, Chelsea went there, all of them having less possession. I look at Tottenham this season, look in the Premier League, the Champions League, their best performances this season, Dortmund home as in terms of results, Dortmund home and away, Madrid home and away, Liverpool home, Everton away. That's their 6 lowest possessions of the season. Yeah. Because what happens is, Eriksen, Dele Alli, Harry Kane, 3 world-class players. I think, like Tim said, they could play in any team in Europe. I think the 3 of them are that good. But what teams are doing now, what you saw a lot last season, I think Chelsea was a prime example. You saw Eriksen dropping deep, Harry Kane dropping a little bit deep, Dele Alli getting into the far post. Now what's happening is teams are playing so deep that there's no space to go in behind. Yeah. There's no space in between the midfield and defence. So all of a sudden you've got 3 world-class players stood near enough as close as us 3 are, and that's the biggest problem. And it's the ultimate respect thing, and it might be a case of Tottenham saying, or Pochettino saying at some point, we've got to let them have more of the ball, because teams are happy for Tottenham to come onto them now, and that's been one of the biggest problems against the smaller clubs as well.
Alderweireld's been missing. He's a massive miss for them. Yeah, Danny's hamstring against Liverpool. I think that him and Vertonghen and Sanchez were great. It was a great little partnership there. Dyer just patrolled him. They had a regular team in there, didn't they? There's been a problem with Davis and Danny Rose. He's left Danny Rose out recently. For me, Danny Rose is the best left back in the country. And Kyle Walker, who I think was the best right wing back in the country, he's gone to one of the rivals, and we see how well he's doing for Manchester City. So there is minor issues, but every club's got issues. I just cannot panic. Do not panic. Stay calm, and everything will be fine.
I think it's interesting as well when you bring the fullbacks into it, because, like you quite rightly said, Danny Rose and Walker last year, I think personally were probably the 2 best fullbacks in terms of working together in the Premier League. And what happens is when you're playing against the smaller teams, listen, I've been in the position plenty of times myself, I've been part of the smaller team, you drop deep, the deeper you go, the more narrow you become, so the space for you is in the wide areas. Now, if you've got Walker and you've got Rose firing on all cylinders like they did have last season, it was a big bonus for them. This season, the conceding goals hasn't been the problem. It's the fact that I think from the same games last season, obviously you've got to take Newcastle and Huddersfield out of it. I think they scored 27 last season, only scored 16 this season. So that's been the biggest problem, and it's what you're going to get. If you're a club like Tottenham that are progressing consistently, you're getting players that are getting this world-class tag now, teams are going to show them the ultimate respect, and they've got to take it as a compliment, but then find the solution.
But what do they do to fix it? Because, I mean, you say you let the opposition have the ball more.
You've got to try and bring them
out.
Yeah,
it's
difficult. I mean, that goes against your very nature.
Absolutely.
You're not going to roll them the ball, but what do you do?
Absolutely, it's hard. I just think it's a case of staying very, very calm. I think Pochettino is not a manager to get very excited about it. You know, you just keep his head down, work hard, do the same things what he's always done with the squad, and they'll turn it around. You know, take their chances. Harry Kane's not had a problem; he's still scoring his goals. I think everyone else, maybe Dele has to chip in with a few more goals. I think he's a young boy, and he's still developing as well. And I think that he will have a down period, and I think he's having a down period at the moment. I can't buy into the fact that Eriksen's having a down period. I'm sorry, you know, we just saw him just take Denmark to the World Cup single-handedly. You know, the kid is fantastic. His ability is great. And I hear that he might be tired. He's not tired. I mean, the boy is the fittest boy I've ever seen. You know, so just keep calm. Things have happened. Keep playing the same way. You don't have to change anything drastic. I think they've got a good squad. I think they've got a bigger, better squad than they've ever had in recent years. And you use them in the right way, and hopefully they get that experience, they get that confidence back, you know. And I think this game at Watford is a massive game because Watford do go on the front foot. We saw it against Man United; they do come at you
with pace.
So it can go either way for Tottenham. It might suit them. I think it perhaps will. I mean, they have too much quality. I think they'll absorb the pressure and catch them on the counter. But if not, then Watford will cause them problems.
And I think instead, like when you talk about Ouch, when you talk about Dele Alli, Harry Kane, I think instead of because it's been questioned by a lot of people, instead of questioning the ability of them for saying they're not playing well, they're not doing this, I think at times you actually have to give credit to the opposition. You say, okay, you know, they've looked to make life difficult for them. Those are three players, like I say, three world-class players that could get in most teams in Europe at the moment, without doubt. It's just the fact that the opposition, they're respecting them a whole lot more and paying even bigger emphasis on them.
Danny, this time last year they were out of Europe. They were out of the Champions League, so it helped them. You know, this year it's better for them. Everyone wants to be in it, especially with a group they've had. To qualify out of that group is fantastic, but it means more games. It means more top-class games, you know, which they want. That's why they get to this position. But it's harder to be competitive in the Premier League when you're dealing with Champions League as well. And I think it's really important they don't get carried away. Dortmund are on the down. They're a team on the down. Yes, they have to get beat. Of course they did, and they beat them quite convincingly. Real Madrid are not like they was. So it's not get carried away with beating these big names. It's fantastic to be able to do it, but they need to keep their feet on the floor and realise they need to be a real force to be reckoned with in the Premier League before they start looking at Champions League.